Here we are now, back at the shrine, which was located near the temple, which we were told is basically a separate, complete separate religious site. So we're going to wander in here and let's learn a little bit about a shrine. For some reason, of all the shrines that I've seen, it seems that they're not as well endowed as the temples. I wonder if we can get to the bottom of that. So evidently, Shintoism, which is Japan's traditional religion, has somehow had to kind of coincide with the introduction of Buddhism into their society. But as I mentioned earlier, it just doesn't seem like they have the same amount of coin flowing through. Although they do have a great deal of land attached to the shrines, it's like they really don't invest as much money on the building or the gardens. And it seems that the shrine has a more simple feel to it.
Why do you think that is? Any idea?
I don't know. I think it comes to the basics of the two religions, and Shintoism is maybe, hey, keep it simple, stupid kind of attitude. Like, look at this shrine compared to the temples we saw earlier, and notice the simplicity. I like the bamboo, but I wouldn't call it necessarily a garden. But look at this particular building. Okay, well, let's go up and take a look. It's very, very unadorned would be the word, but the architecture is equally as fascinating. Made out of real wood. I believe that you would take your shoes off and go up onto the altar. If there were to be an important ceremony being held here, this area would be reserved for the local elders, and they would probably polish the wood here. But notice that it's more of an outdoor feeling as opposed to the Buddhist temple that we entered, where we had more of a entering a building type feel to it. I can't say that the architecture is any less than the Buddhist temple, but there's not as much gold and fanciness and a tea room connected to it, and the garden doesn't seem like it requires as much work. And yes, all over this community, and we'll take you on a little journey. You'll notice this paper in Japan, especially connected with Shintoism. Paper and the folding of paper is used a lot in ceremonies to ward off evil spirits, and usually Shinto is used in, not lately, but in recent times, more for wedding ceremonies, to bless a couple or to bless a house or to bless land, whereas, as I was mentioning earlier, Buddhism seems to be more connected to funeral ceremonies and personal grieving and emotions connected with it, whereas the paper is somehow very ingrained in the Japanese mind that it is a very good way to either bless someone or to rid them of evil spirits.
Always white paper?
Yes, and it seems to be of a handmade sort. It's not just like you can go to a dollar shop and pick it up and start folding, you know. It's definitely, the paper itself has probably been blessed or bought from some shrine. I think once again, as we see the names written on various stones, these are probably in a similar context all the way down this whole entranceway to the shrine. Probably names of people who have donated money. And most families would probably, you know, people who are interested in religion probably would donate both to the shrine and to the temple. So if someone asked me, are Japanese Buddhists or are they Shintoists, I would say most Japanese would answer, we're both and neither at the same time.
So both religions coexist in parallel here in Japan?
Yes, they do. And ironically, recently, as far as weddings go, Christian weddings, or what they perceive a Christian wedding to be, has become a very popular thing here. So Shintoism has actually lost out recently to a altered version of Christian wedding ceremonies, which is also a very interesting thing. And when I ask Japanese how they feel about that, they say, well, we embrace all religions.
Peacefully.
Peacefully.
Which is unusual in this day and age. I mean, there's some countries that are at war with themselves or others over religion.
You're right. And they do find that this is one reason why they like to say that they are not religious, because they believe that sticking to and adhering to any type of doctrine is dangerous for a country and for people, and causes very deep feelings which might create war and hardship. Well, here we are again. Another shrine next to, guess what? Lo and behold, a temple right next door to it. Now this place is a golf shot from my house. My son occasionally come over here and play baseball in the shrine, because the awesome temple has a garden that just can't be tampered. And it's too beautiful, so come on inside.
Wow.
Talk about a relaxation palace. You have the sounds of the water trickling here. You have a Buddha with squirting what's meant to probably symbolize wine. You've got a spot here where you wash your hands before you enter, because you don't want to soil the environment before you go into deep prayer. When I moved into this area 6 years ago, I watched a team of 20 or 30 guys come in day after day, tear down the old gate, and then build this new one. And until then, I never realized what actually went into building one of those. And just that gate alone, I was told, is worth well over $500,000 to build. And it's hard to believe, but every single one of those tiles on the roof has been individually roped and tied down and wired in. The wood is a special kind of wood, hinoki wood, here in Japan, which is revered. The whole area smelled for 2 years. Beautiful smell. And that's only a 6-year-old gate, which is very important when you enter a temple.
It's a work of art in and of itself.
It is. This place is awesome. I love it here. Although it's such a tiny piece of land, it's just so filled with intricacy and love and beauty. And yet, I rarely see a person ever here. Maybe once or twice a month I might see somebody.
Is it a matter of the modern Japanese person being too busy to enjoy their own culture?
You know, I don't think so. I think they need to know this place exists. And they don't really need it, and they don't use it except at times of funeral and times of worshiping their ancestors, you know, which just doesn't really seem to come into their daily need. Yeah, I really don't think that even with all of this beauty, it's not like a Western garden where we'd be walking around and talking about, yeah, look at this plant or this one. It's more like they need to come and have a place they know where they could meditate or have that cup of tea with their family in times of grieving.